All right, Tilt. Today's Chalk Talk is diving deeper into the Tilt program and talking specifically about strength cycles and strength programs and why Tilt doesn't necessarily follow one. Let's first talk about what that means. What is a strength cycle? Well, these are percentage-based programs. They're under a time domain, 4, 6, 8, or 10 weeks. And they're really to get better at a couple movements, right? Could be a squat program, could be Olympic lifting program, and it normally, depending on the volume, doesn't pair well with other programming. Now, with that said, let's talk about how this thing started to get so popular and why a number of gyms started to follow a strength cycle as well as trying to condition their athletes. Well, about 8 to 10 years ago, there was this really big push for Olympic lifting in CrossFit, and we've seen it carry through. Whenever we watch the games, there's always, a max clean and jerk, max snatch. So Olympic lifting became really relevant. And so what happened was a lot of these competitive coaches and competitive programs started to adopt some of these strength cycles and strength programs, and they work really well if you're a competitive CrossFitter, competitive athlete that has 4 to 6 hours a day to maybe dedicate to training and another 4 to 6 hours to dedicate to recovery, and you're always eating the right things and you're always getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Unfortunately, in the real world that we all live in, that's really hard to do. So instead of focusing on these strength cycles, which also are going to have you peaking 4, 6, 8 to 10 weeks into it, and in CrossFit and in our program, we're not really looking to peak ever. We're looking to continually get better, right? So instead of us adopting one of these strength cycles, what we go with is what's called the overload principle. And you tell me if this sounds like we do on a normal basis. We continue to increase our weight. We continue to increase our volume. We change the exercises. We modify the order of the exercises, and we alter our rest periods. Now, the reason why we go with this overload principle, and this is something that's been around forever, is it gives us an opportunity to continue to lift heavy. It takes pressure off of us to perform on one max out day, and it keeps us prepared for that next thing, knowing that we're not trying to complete a 4, 6, 8 week cycle and then have a max out day. And honestly, Coach Mick said it best when we were talking a little bit about strength cycles. Coach Mick said, strength cycle, what about the life cycle? And that really hit home to me. That's what we're trying to do here. Continually get better a little bit at a time. We don't need to go through crazy high volume programs and percentages to gain a little bit of strength. Just keep showing up and doing what you're doing day in and day out.